What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. Want to thank my sponsor, Steel Supplements. Link and discount code down in the description. And you guys know I'm a Weeble preferred influencer. Use the link down in the description. Right now, you get their best promotion as well as the shot to win a free share of Microsoft. Just follow some easy steps. And I've had so many people reach out to me and talk to me about AMC. What do I think? What am I doing? Am I involved? Why is this happening? What's going on? And you know, there's really not many layman's terms videos out there. So I wanted to create one, and I'll put a timestamp to when we kind of get into the AMC talk, but I want to preface this with some things that I've had to come to terms with recently. You know, I spent over half my life being educated in high school and college. I've worked for some really big companies that have gave me some fantastic 401ks, but I don't think at any point someone sat down and explained to me how quote-unquote rich America works. You know, no one showed me that you can actually privately own portions of companies and then they pay you for their ownership. And I think a lot of this, not to say anything discouraging about our country, I think a lot of this is based on an unrealistic portrayal of the American success story over the last 40 or 50 years. To give you an example, we're all familiar with an English muffin, right? Thomas English's muffins, you can go buy them. A lot of people have them for breakfast. McDonald's has a very infamous McMuffin sandwich, right? This guy started a company, didn't have an oven, okay? But we're supposed to see this as Americans and have this success story to be reminded that the American dream, the opportunity still exists. But the reality is, I don't think a lot of people foresee building a company like that logically over the next 50 years is a true plan to aspire to. What is far more likely for you is that you're going to get into a rat race job, work a 9 to 5, however you want to present it, but basically find something you can tolerate to do with your day until you either make enough money to retire and then scrape by on that until you pass away. That's going to happen to a lot more people than creating a muffin company that gets bought out by another company making over $500 million a year. Okay, and the stock market gives you an opportunity to buy into companies that you can partake in the profit of that make money on a much grander scale. Okay, so Apple makes money faster in a day than most of us do in a year. Unlike my paychecks, Johnson & Johnson actually makes enough money to pay a dividend that beats inflation for over 50 years. And like Johnson & Johnson, you've got companies like Microsoft that actually have a higher credit rating than the U.S. government. So understand that you have an influx of people that are just finding some of these things out. Combine this with the fact that you've got, online brokerages and apps that make this very easy to get into, and you also no longer have physical stock certificates, right? Everything is digital. Everything is instant. 99% of the fees are gone. And with this, you've ushered in a retail investor. In my opinion, people that probably threw the business section of the newspaper away so they could get to the sports faster are now checking their brokerage before they're checking a sports app or a sports gossip page. So I want to share with you guys some similar processes here because I know a lot of people get disconnected in understanding what's happening. But if you can go back and remember, we used to have US dollars here that were redeemable by gold. You can still see them. They're still around. You can buy them. They're probably worth far more than the actual face value. But if you were of my generation, you probably remember a lot of disappointment when you got an EE savings bond, which was really only cashable once it hit final maturity. So you would think you had $50 as a kid, but you really didn't. So there was a simpler time where you could actually have something that held value. And to that same degree, there was also a time where you would physically need to call a broker and physically purchase a share of something and actually have a share to stand by on that. But those times are long gone. You can literally buy stock from nearly any platform at most any time. This allows the broker to earn more money, the consumer to invest more and more frequently, and also, with that comes some making better decisions, others making worse decisions. But at the end of the day, they make money off of every share that is traded because essentially they limit their money when they can't make that profit in terms of what you can and can't trade, which is why if you go back and recall, they put limits when everyone got in an uproar about how many shares you could buy and sell of these, because what is happening is they were losing some of the amount of money they were making, because when you were buying it, you technically weren't buying it. They were buying it later in the day and putting it in your account, and they were losing money as you bought a stock at $80, and come the end of the day, they actually had to fulfill that order at $120. So when they started losing money, that's when they started limiting your ability to purchase it. This is all brought on because physical shares are no longer in place. So to better understand how shorting works, when people talk about shorting AMC, I want you to think about it this way. Let's say you had $10, 10 single dollars, and 10 people came up to you and said they needed to borrow $1, but they would give it back to you tomorrow. Just need to borrow this dollar for a single day. And you said, fine, I've got $10 here, I'll give you each a dollar. And as soon as you're done this, your best friend walks up and says, I really need $5. And you look at him and say, listen, man, I just gave all $10 I had away, but, you're my best friend. I really don't have this $5 to lend, but here you go. I'm going to count on those people bringing me back that $10. Don't worry about it. Here's a $5. Do what you got to do. Okay? In stock terms, that $10 you had is referred to as the float, meaning that's the amount of money you had to lend. And if someone came to you and asked you how much you had to lend, you would probably say $10. But you actually had lent out $15. So with that concept in mind, that's when people start to talk about manipulation in the market, synthetic shares, and how the price can be manipulated by them. And I just want to say, because a lot of people like to go on tangents right at this point in the conversation about how rules or policies can prevent this. The reality is we all have to understand greed and money go hand in hand. And there is no amount of regulations or rules that are going to prevent that. Now, you'll also see some people that will sit there and tell you that the stock market and the powers that be have control over the media and the news. And to be fair, I'm not totally dismissing that. But the reality is, I think that's part of every business. We're mostly gamers here. We understand there are gaming companies that have favorable ratings and reviews with their games by certain publications. So I don't think that's just a stock market thing. But when people talk about this being a once-in-a-lifetime event, it's really because it is. Okay, every one of these is unique in their own way. So let's go back to the crash of last year. We know what happened in the crash, right? Fear. What's the fastest way to get someone to part with their cash or anything of value? Fear. 100% of robberies. Fear gets put in a person, they give up something of value, and that's exactly what took place. And with that fear and greed came the shorting of this stock. Now, shorting, if you're not familiar, is a very risky way to profit from the declining value of a stock. Meaning you're basically banking on the stock going down in value. You are waiting to collect the money that people lose. Most people buy a stock and they expect the value to go up, okay? When you short a stock, you are literally making a bet that it will go down. In layman's terms, you are loaning a share at $10 because you're projecting to buy it at $7. That's how strongly you feel the company will fail. You're going to take that $3 profit because the stock lost value. Now, the challenge with this becomes, unlike buying a stock, shorting it gives you unlimited losses. So just to use AMC as an example, let's say I bought a share of AMC for $12.65. That's it. That's all the money I have to lose. I can't lose more than my $12.64. But if I short the stock, the more it goes up, the more I lose. And the only way I can stop losing is if I cover my call and give in and buy it and accept my loss. So part of why this is all happening, in my opinion, is, I guess you can look for things in the market and try to relate it, but they have to lower the cost to lower what they're going to pay. And I also think you have a lot of investors in the market that look at two things. They want to invest in something they understand, and if they understand it, they don't perceive it as a risk. So I own $10 of AMC. I know what AMC is. I would prefer to own it because I'm deferring the risk in, say, buying Avenger, which is a company that makes image-guided catheter systems, I would perceive, even if it's not more of a risk, that it is, because I don't know anything about that company. So when you think of that concept of people buying things, and you think about the concept of a company being shorted, the reality is right now estimates are around 500 million shares are unaccounted for with AMC. And those shares have dramatically lowered this price. So when people start to talk about to the moon, $100,000, $500,000, what they're banking on is those synthetic shares will be diluted, and the actual short sellers will have to buy these shares. They may have to buy them at 15, they may have to buy them at 20, but whatever needs to be done, they will have to buy them. The challenge becomes is when they go to buy them, they're not going to be as readily available because you have a group that has been holding on to them for months on end, buying more, refusing to sell, joining together. And essentially what they're doing is playing a game of musical chairs. We're hoping as AMC apes, when the music stops, we will be the ones seated and there will be no more shares. And at that point, the money gets paid. So that's about, in as layman's terms as I can put it. You know, I put in the front of these videos, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not giving you advice, but I will tell you the best investments you make are just that. The ones that you make. Do some research, open an account, get started with paper trading, embrace the profits, learn from the losses, but put yourself every single day in a better position than the next. Create a goal, not a financial, not a number. Create the desire to be financially free and then work tirelessly to achieve that. I can tell you that plan has made the last 5 years of my life far and away more rewarding, fulfilling, and profitable than any other year prior. Love to know your guys' thoughts on this. Hopefully you took something from it. You know I will be back in the week with more commentary.